lowering. I think Ms. Bell's off. I think she told me that Frank wrote that part.
Okay. So I have a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3 is citizens' comments. We have 2. If you will step to the podium, state your name and where you live. Steve Davis.
Ms. Mangrum wants to go before me.
Okay. Ms. Glenda Mangrum.
About the rezoning request from Mr. Prince for the 2.25 acres where M&J is currently located. This is because we live in a residential area of 1 acre lots. It's a dead-end street. And Mr. Prince has obtained an easement from the lady that lives across the street from me to the back side of his property, which would potentially allow our residential neighborhood to be opened up to traffic from commercial. So my understanding was that all the property on 100 Highway would eventually be commercial. Right now, there's a fence that separates us, and I like to keep it that way. My concerns are the potential for what it's going to do to our neighborhood if this goes through, as it is requested.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Davis.
Yes, I live at 7107 Rusty Drive as well, and I'm neighbors with Glenda Mangrum as well. But my concerns was, the biggest thing is that when I seen the sign at the end of the road and understanding that there was an easement that was going to be opened up to allow through traffic through there. And we do live on, I think the road is somewhere around 800 to 900 feet long. You know, it's not a very big road. So then you start opening up to, you know, other traffics that way. It's going to impact our, you know, 1 acre lot's huge, you know, and that's my concern, as well as from switching from the R40 to the R12. And that's going to impact, you know, with that many 12 to 15 dwellings on that property. So that would be, you know, a pretty good size impact on our little road. And that would be my main concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is approval of the minutes. 4.1, January 13th, 2015, regular minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5, recommendations. We have none. Number 6, bonds. Mr. Humber, would you like to discuss the bonds?
Yes, the first one is Cell Site Technologies Incorporated. Their bond in the amount of $1,500 is due to expire in March, but they have completed all that was required of them to do, so this bond can be released.
Anything from the engineer?
No.
We need to make a motion to let it expire.
Yep, you need to make a motion to release it.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in
Why-
favor?
wait,
Go
wait.
ahead. Sorry.
So why wouldn't we just let it expire? You're saying,
I'd rather the planning commission vote to release it.
yeah, but I want to know why.
Well, it's just better practice that we not let something, well, you could vote to let it expire, I guess, couldn't they, Larry? I mean, would that be the same thing? I don't know.
You can, but the people who post these bonds, if everything has been done that they're supposed to do, it's like when you have a subdivision, you accept the roads and everything's been done. Those people like to have a release because it satisfies their auditors a whole lot better. I mean, once it's expired, you can't pursue it. But what'll happen is if you let it expire, then they're gonna send you a request to release it, and then you're gonna end up having to do the same thing.
Okay. And Will, do you, I mean, as far as, have you gone, everything looks good to you?
I have not visited the site.
Now, he
But
did, he didn't inspect it. John Bledsoe did. He said everything was complete.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 6.2, Western Woods Village. Do you want Mr. Beata to read the engineer's comments?
There's none on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Skip that. No comments on that one.
What do you, wait, just a minute, just a moment. That's right. All right, what I have is, I have a letter dated February 10th to the codes clerk, Ms. Hall. And it says that the bond had, they enclosed a extension certificate on this bond, so it has been extended until the 10th day of February, well, that's today. The 14th day of March of 2016. So we do have an extension.
Well, we shouldn't make a motion to retire the bond if it's not met by March 14th.
No, I've reviewed the document, it's already extended to March 16th of 2016. So
Okay.
you really won't need to take any
Okay.
action because you don't have to accept the bond.
That wasn't part of it, so I didn't know.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so the bond has been extended for a year from
Here, so
March.
you can just
Gotcha.
pass and go to the next one.
And that'll be reflected in the minutes.
Okay, so you extended the bond?
At
to March?
$80,240, so it's extended for a year.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything on that one then, right?
No, ma'am, because the
Okay.
city got what they wanted.
Okay. 6.3, discuss and or take action on lowering Walmart performance bond to cover the road, sidewalks, and storm drainage, $97,800. Bond expires November 30th, 2015. Mr. Beata will read the engineer's comments.
Based on field observations conducted of the subject improvements along with as-built plans submitted by the applicant, all proposed improvements associated with the above referenced bond have been installed to satisfactory completion and in accordance with all previously approved plans and any previously approved deviations from those plans. As a result, it is recommended that the Planning Commission forward a resolution of recommendation to the Board of Commissioners requesting their formal acceptance of the dedication of improvements within the recognized public right-of-way as identified on the recorded final plat entitled Walmart Commercial Subdivision, recorded in Plat Book P56, page 94 of the Williamson County Register's Office. Additionally, the resolution forwarded to the Board of Commissioners should include that the applicant is required to maintain all improvements for a period of 1 year after formal acceptance of the public right-of-way by the board, and that the board's acceptance should only be after the applicant files a 1-year maintenance bond with the city in the amount of $40,000. That's all.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Wait, are you moving to approve based on the recommendations of the engineer?
Yes.
So doesn't he need to say based on the engineer's recommendation?
That's what he read.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it needs to be said based on the engineer's recommendation.
Let me reword that.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve based on the recommendation of the engineer.
Thank you.
Second. You got his first and second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6.4, discuss and or take action on releasing site performance bond number B 1205739 for Fast Pace to cover site, including site drainage, seed, straw, and grading. Bond amount $4,000.
Right, this is on the old site that was across the
Yes, this
street.
is on the old site.
We just giving, we're returning the bond, right? Okay, move to approve. Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7, old business, we have none. Number 8, new business. 8.1, rezoning application for property located on 1895 Fairview Boulevard, map 42FA, parcel 2.00, 1 acre, from RS40 to RM12. Owner Alex Prince.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I have a few questions, if you can come up, Mr. Prince, is that okay, Chair? Is it okay for me to address?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted, I've had some questions and from the audience members, just to get a little more details. They were discussing the access road. If you can we get this up on the screen? Is this the,
I actually gave everybody a free
yeah, but I
page.
want the citizens.
Sure,
Well, it's not
absolutely.
being taped, is it? But I guess the citizens here could
Sure.
see. So can you, once we get it up, kind of show the, show me the access where this is going to come in? I'm trying to see how it's going to affect the citizens that are in the audience, the neighbors.
While they're doing that, can I ask a
Yes.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My question is, there's like a road that goes right beside the Fairview Car Wash's entrance. And then you've got the easement off the cul-de-sac in the back. What is the easement intended to do?
For this purpose.
Off the cul-de-sac.
For this purpose, for the apartments only, is why I bought that easement back there. I don't have any, basically it's 2.25 acres, and I'm gonna carve off 1.25 acres. or
So the
1
1
acre.
1/4 acres is on the side that doesn't have the entrance from on 100?
Yes, ma'am. It's on the other side of the
Okay,
house.
because there's a house. There's the road that's beside the car wash that comes up to a house.
Yes.
And the acreage you're talking about is on the other side of that,
If you're facing the house, it's to the right of that.
to the right.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the cul-de-sac, the easement would provide the entrance to the apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear about,
Once we, so like, you're gonna come in from here, and this little, the road going into here, you got the easement on the property. Who did you get the property, easement from, the one on the left or the right of the,
If you're facing the easement from the cul-de-sac, it's the property on the left, Jennifer Stewart.
okay. And then, are you going to, it said, is it a townhome where you're selling, or is it all rental property?
It's, the plan is for all apartments.
It's
only.
all rental?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have a couple other questions if you're done, Mr. Carroll.
Yeah, well, I got more, but you go ahead. I'm thinking,
I've got,
making sure I get them all.
one of them's for our staff, because he's only asking to rezone 1 acre of 2.25. I don't know that, me being on the planning commission, I've ever seen somebody rezone part of the property without subdividing it. Does our subdivision regs allow that?
So, you can request anything. Now, keep in mind, this is for the rezoning only. This does not approve that site plan, does not approve that access.
Well, my next question,
You still have to come back with a site plan.
if we rezone this, does that not, if we rezone it and then turn down his site plan, no matter what he brings, we've sort of rezoned his property, knowing his intent.
Yeah, I mean, you make a decision on whatever you want to, whether it's his intent or not. I mean, that's good. I'm just saying that you're not approving something, other than you're looking just at the zoning tonight.
Correct, but I mean, with this, we know what the intent is.
Yeah, you see what the intent is.
I have another question for Mr. Prince. Am I seeing that right? You've got 15 apartments there?
Yes,
And of course, we know we're not approving that site, but he's only rezoning an acre, so it would only hold 12. Is that correct?
It only holds 12.
And my final comment, I actually measured the road on Rusty Drive today. That's my only concern. That road is 14 foot wide. Pretty narrow street. And that would, from a public safety standpoint, that's my concern.
Didn't we change ordinance about 3 or 4 years ago when we were talking about cul-de-sacs and widths on the road for emergency traffic?
You did, yes, for the turnaround of emergency
I
vehicles.
don't have that number in my head, but I know that we did it for the cul-de-sacs. But on the width of the road themselves, didn't we change that?
I'm not sure if it included road, because I think the roads at that time were already 50 feet.
Cul-de-sacs were. The roads are not 50 feet wide.
Well, this cul-de-sac here is not that, because it's 14, the cul-de-sac, I didn't measure it, but it's not paved in the middle.
Well, it's a pre-existing cul-de-sac, so.
Yeah, it's pre-existing.
Nothing we do about
Your
that
ordinance
one, but
can't
I'm just-
change and go back and make you increase the cul-de-sac. I got if you're gonna rezone an acre of that 2.25, before this or any other board can make a decision on what they're doing, we're gonna have to have an accurate description of where that 1 acre of that 2.25 is, because the description that's in here, that's filed with, it's for the whole 2.25 acres. And we
But
can't,
not the rezoning request.
pardon?
But not the rezoning request.
Well, it's part of the rezoning request, but I don't know where it is in that 2.25 acres. We can't describe it in an ordinance if we don't know where it is.
So the way it's written right now, if we do it with this document, we're rezoning the entire properties.
Well,
'Cause
either that or
that's the
you're
legal we got.
Either that or you're rezoning an acre that you don't know where it is. We know it's inside that 2.25, but we can't
don't know where.
rezone an acre inside that 2.25 without a description.
I just have a question. Why wouldn't you come off of the main road?
that's a great question. I believe TDOT, I don't think TDOT would allow that. I think that would create more
Not with that merging line.
there's
concerns.
it
I think that would be
merges
more of
right
a
there.
concern for residents and myself than coming off a city street. With hundreds of new homes coming to Fairview, there's going to be lots of concerns from homeowners, including myself, for traffic and things. But with growth, that's part of it. And so not everybody's happy with it.
Do you understand what the attorney's talking about?
I do. I was told to go ahead and put this as a preliminary plan, and then once I got it approved, I thought that's when I would do the survey to show a site plan. But as far as where this is in the 2.25, it's the west part of the property. The house is right there to the right of it, so I'm a little confused on where the confusion is, I guess.
What we have is a rezoning, and the map and parcel number is for the
The
entire
entire property.
property.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the, we understand it's dotted lines here, but we don't have the exact legal description of the 1 acre that we're supposed to be potentially, approving, so.
Okay.
And we all understand this is just rezoning and that all the details would have to be worked out. Me, I just had some questions about, as we go along, because anytime you you take residential, something that surrounds, you have so many residential homes, we gotta consider the impact, of the neighbors. Of course, you have commercial too, so, in this area. But, so that was just wanted to make sure we understood exactly what you were wanting. I do think there is some cul-de-sac, issues, with fire, but we can discuss, you know.
They don't, I don't know that the apartment concept is gonna be considered a cul-de-sac area, is it, Larry, or is it not?
I don't know, but I know you
The
can't.
apartment complex part of it. We're
Yeah.
looking at the cul-de-sac as where the people live at now. We're talking about what's the cul-de-sac gonna look like in the apartment complex. We're talking about turnaround for emergency vehicles, period. That's all, is what we're
Is that
talking
something that I could extend at my cost as far as going out further if needed?
about. It'll have to be, 'cause we already passed that ordinance.
Okay, and also, this property is residential property. It's not commercial at all, by the way.
Right.
So, I just make sure.
So what's your recommendation there?
Well, you still have to have room to turn emergency vehicles around because.
Well, yeah, we're talking about
because
this part right here as
People
far
get
as.
sick too.
Oh, yeah.
And he could extend it out there and make the cul-de-sac.
I said it has
Turn around, they
residential
could
and
drive through
commercial.
the existing cul-de-sac onto the property to an area that he's provided that does meet the code for turnaround in that area. Because that's not, I don't know how far that little road is there, but it's not very far. You could always drive through there and turn around in an area that he provides.
Okay, that's part of the question, but not all the questions. As far as the detail that we're gonna need here to approve this tonight, what's your recommendation on that?
Oh, I don't think, unless, there's two things you can do relative to, you could approve it contingent upon him building an area, of the shape of a cul-de-sac on his property that meets current codes for emergency vehicle turnarounds. And if he wanted to zone this, sounds like there's only two things you can do there. Either do a survey and get the meets and bounds for the 1 acre, or rezone the whole thing, and then when he gets the meets and bounds for the 1 acre, you rezone the other part to what he wants it to do. Because you
Mr.
can't
Cantrell,
write a
is your
description.
mic on? I'm having.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just having a little trouble.
You can't write a description for an ordinance when you don't know what the description is.
Right.
I'm not trying to be smart aleck. We don't have
Right, no,
any
no.
skeleton, descriptions. So, I mean, you could either pass it subject to him providing a cul-de-sac that meets the requirements for emergency vehicle turnarounds and rezone the whole 2.25 acres, and then when he surveys off his 1 acre, then if he wants to do something else with the other, you could rezone it.
Or are we looking at the option being, come back to us and ask for rezoning for the entire area? Or come back and with a survey request for the exact location of the apartment complex?
And that would leave the other zoned as it presently is.
Yeah.
I don't care, it's an ordinance to me either way,
Right.
but I can't write an ordinance when I don't have a description for the property that's gonna be rezoned.
You see where we're at, Ms. Green?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I don't know that we can vote on something that we don't, I mean, I know it's rezoned unless he wanted to rezone the whole thing and then split it up.
That's the only way you could do it. I mean, otherwise you're voting on something that you don't know what you're approving.
And that's the plan, is to split it.
Is
So
there,
you want to, it'd be zoned the same?
The house and the 1.25 acres would stay residential. And, of course, plus or minus, depending on the survey,
Then-
acreage.
In that case, then he's gonna have to come back in front of us.
that was
Yeah,
gonna be the
yes.
suggestion they do, come back with a survey on it or request to rezone the entire property.
Yeah, but he
I thought
also said that we could rezone it.
I don't think we can do it tonight.
He said, didn't you say that we could rezone it contingent on him getting the survey?
No, I said you could rezone it, contingent upon him getting a cul-de-sac that would satisfy the current ordinance for them to turn around. But if you're gonna rezone 1 acre, we've gotta have a description of it.
Gotcha.
If you're gonna rezone the whole thing, then you could approve it, subject to the cul-de-sac being put in there. And then when he got the survey of the 1 acre, then he'd have to come back and rezone the other part back to whatever residential, whatever he wants to zone it to.
I think it's two different things. The cul-de-sac is
It's two
down the
different
road
issues.
here,
Yeah.
but what we're talking about now is just a rezoning. We can't rezone without a proper description
Right.
of the apartment complex.
So
where
we'd
it's
have
at.
to rezone the whole property RM12 or not at all?
I don't think we can do that tonight, can we, Larry?
Well, he's asked for an acre, the description is wrong.
But-
If
so we
he's
can't
gonna-
do it.
No, you can't do it
That-
tonight.
that's-
He's gonna have to come back
Where we at?
and then he can ask that the whole thing be zoned R12, or he can survey out the 1 acre and ask that that be zoned R12 and leave the rest like it
So
is.
could the motion be that we request him to come back before us with a survey plan of the exact location, of the apartment complex, and/or the request to rezone the entire area with the exception of the residential tract that you have now? Get that?
Okay, that's, what about the cul-de-sac? Is that something I need to take into effect before I start surveying
Yes.
and all that?
Yeah, I think the quicker you get that
And you
in
can look
there.
with the, you can check with Grant with the ordinance complex for the width and everything that we're looking at, and he can give you better detail when you start looking at that.
Okay. Okay, great.
So, you want to read the motion back?
There's,
Okay.
I don't think there's anything to vote on, is there?
No, he just have to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all you'd have to do is just, you can have a motion to continue this until.
We'll
he
just
brings
make a
it back.
motion to table this. That's a motion. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Prince.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll be glad to work with you, whatever it is, and the citizens also. We have a first and a second. Motion to
We have a
table.
first and a second. Are we deferring or
To
continuing?
defer.
All right.
Table it for this time, yeah.
You put it back on when he asks.
When he brings
you
it back
put
to us.
Okay, so we're going to defer it to the next meeting
No,
Well, I don't know.
until he,
Until he.
until he
tells
gets
Mr. Humber he
the,
wants to
okay,
be back
until he
on.
resubmits. We have a first and a second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8.2, rezoning application for property located on Old Nashville Road, map 42, parcel 65.12, 1 acre, from RS10 to RM12, owner Timothy Mangrum.
I'd like to recuse myself from this, please.
Move to approve.
Have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 8.3, discuss and/or take action on the conceptual site plan for a convenience store located on 1528 Highway 96 North, map 18, parcel 4.01 acres, CI Commercial Interchange zoned, owner Thanath LLC. Do we have a representative? Please come forward.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
There's engineering comments. I'd like
Okay.
to read.
Thank you.
These are the engineering comments. Number 1, please provide the total impermeable surface ratio on the plan. It appears that the maximum impermeable ratio of 80% may be exceeded. Number 2, curbing around the perimeter of all paved areas is required. Number 3, drainage calcs need to be submitted with the final site plan to confirm that no detention will be required. And number 4, the minimum required parking spaces have not been provided on the site.
So are those all things that y'all can provide of the recommendations?
On the perimeter, is it saying on the curbing all the way around? Because that's what we'd asked for before, as far as the variance on the side next to the motel. 'Cause if we put curbing on it, you can't get traffic in and out of it.
Will, will you?
Based on the variance that you approved last month, the concrete curbing between the hotel site and this site would not be considered to be required based on that variance that you gave last
So we
month.
can strike that.
So
from
we can
the
strike
comment.
number
No,
two?
no, the concrete curbing on all other perimeter asphalt areas would indeed be required.
Well, should it be stated differently instead of all paved areas?
Sure, if we want to revise that language, we certainly can. I guess it should be all paved, curbing around all paved areas adjacent to vegetated areas is required. And that would resolve the issue.
Okay, that resolves that one.
Does that answer your question about, okay.
And so y'all are good on the other items? The parking spaces,
We can provide-
are y'all gonna provide
we can
those?
provide that.
What is the required parking space amount, Will, for this
14 spaces.
14? So they gotta get 7 more.
Does the spaces at the gas pumps count? Okay.
But that does include handicap parking. Is in there, okay.
Any more discussion?
Just to make clear, we had a first and second, but I would like to include the recommendations as long as the recommendations were met by the engineer. So if you want to add that, I just think clarification
Just want to amend it, you
purposes.
just want to amend it to that?
Well, I can amend it and get a second and go that way if you'd rather.
Be easier.
Okay.
Be fine.
I'll amend it to read with all the recommendations provided by our city engineer.
Second.
Second.
We also need
And
to
with number
clarify
two,
the corrective verbiage.
Of number two, right.
Adjacent to vegetative areas on item 2.
With that to be added also?
Yeah, we
Yes.
need to clarify that too.
Okay, with the recommendation from the city engineer with the corrective verbiage, number 2, to include vegetation and
Adjacent to vegetative
Ad-
areas.
adjacent to vegetation areas. I always do this to you, Sharon.
Second.
okay, I have a first and a second. Any more discussion?
Yep. Frank, when they come back, they'll have to bring their building design in front of us, is that correct? For design review? I saw that preliminary. I had a few things I wanted to mention, but that's what I'll wait till they bring it back next month, so.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
And just for further clarity on the parking, at this stage, you are not, if I understand the motion, you are not approving the variance to allow 7 spaces as opposed to 14 spaces.
That was one of your recommendations, so
Correct.
that's part of the motion.
I see a very challenging aspect to provide 7 additional spaces that would be in compliance with the size requirements that you call for in your zoning ordinance. Not to say it can't be done, but I suspect that you may be seeing a final site plan that would be requesting a variance of that. So, but at this stage, you have not approved that variance.
Yeah, we haven't, but I mean, if y'all will,
Would you consider an agreement with the adjoining property owner for parking? Shared parking?
I think that property is going to be redeveloped shortly, possibly. Am I correct, Wayne?
Yeah, well, that's what we're.
Okay, so I don't know that they can give that approval, I don't know.
my request.
But you could come back with ask for a variance for a reduction in parking space.
My request would be that you go and try to meet our codes, but if you do have trouble and you need some kind of variance, please come back and we can review. But we want as much parking available, and we definitely want to try to meet our own codes in the situation, but we understand that you're in limited space, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
8.5, discuss and/or take action on items referred to the Planning Commission from the January 29th, 2015.
Skip that.
I'm sorry, I skipped 8.4. 8.4, discuss and/or take action on an ordinance to amend City of Fairview, Tennessee Municipal Zoning Code, Article 17, Section 16-104.3, Board of Zoning Appeals membership.
Move to approve. Larry, you
Have
gonna
a
give,
first and a second.
Larry, you gonna give a brief discussion of that?
Mr. Cantrell?
This ordinance deals with, obviously with the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mayor Carroll and Vice Mayor Sutton was at the last meeting of the Board of Commissioners when this was presented for, I think, first reading. It being an amendment to a zoning ordinance requires that it be submitted to the Planning Commission. You can either approve it, disapprove it, send it forward with no recommendation, or that's your three choices. But just to tell you what it is, we have had, and I'll ask that Commissioner, the Mayor Carroll and Vice Mayor Sutton bear with me because they heard this same thing at the Commissioners meeting, but it's important to me that you're aware of what this does. We have a Board of Zoning Appeals that has 5 members that are appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and a liaison commissioner is also appointed by the Board of Commissioners, but he's an ex officio, he or she is an ex officio member, which means that they can participate in all discussion. They can ask any questions they want to ask, but they can't make any motions, nor can they vote. And in the last year or two, maybe a year and a half, we had something that this tries to and will avoid. We had either 2 meetings or 3 meetings in a row. I don't remember whether it was 2 or 3. Vice Mayor Sutton may, but he was there each meeting. And at each one of those meetings, and then we had 2 regular board members. It's not the same 2 all the time. The upshoot of that was that the people who asked for the appeals to meet on their problem was here all 3 times, and we had to tell them, we're sorry, we can't meet. We'll have to call the board to order and dismiss for lack of a quorum, because the ex officio member cannot count as a member for the purposes of a quorum. So what we did with this was we proposed to amend the ordinance. I researched this, there's nothing illegal about it, it's perfectly valid. The board appoints all 6 members, that in the event that you have 2 regular members there and the ex officio member, he or she becomes a regular voting member, can make up a quorum, can cast a vote, can make a motion. He or she, in the event you had 4 members there, I could foresee where you could have 2 one way and 2 the other way. That ex officio member can become a voting member to break the tie. That's basically all it does. And it keeps you from having to have, this particular one we had 2 or 3 meetings on was not a hot button issue. I think everybody that was there it didn't have any problem with passing. We just had a problem of getting a meeting where we could pass it. And Vice Mayor Sutton asked me if I would look into that. I did, and that's the way we can correct it and not, pardon the expression, not waste people's time coming when you don't have a quorum. We'd ask to send that to the board as a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 8.5, discuss and or take action on items referred to the Planning Commission from the January 29th, 2015 meeting on the Codes Review Committee. Mr. Humber?
Could we look at the person who related into the parking lot aerial landscaping, part of that section is 2-105.4. It was mentioned in the perimeter of the general parking lot area. Likewise, the director has discretion to relocate the landscaping in cases involving small or oddly configured land parcels. The amount of landscaping, required shall be in addition to the perimeter landscaping and street landscaping buffer requirements. This, I would recommend that this be eliminated because people present a landscaping plan that's approved, and if it's gonna be on a small or oddly configured land parcel, that plan is gonna show that to begin with, so, and if it needs to be changed, then let me bring it back and have that actually go back through the tree commission and come back to the planning commission and have it changed. So I don't think that the planning director should have the discretion to move that much of the landscaping around. And the second part of it would be, we would add to, using the same number, we would add a tree density worksheet required. What that is attached there, the worksheet is, what it does is establishes a standard of 14 units per acre. Now, the units, if you can look at the chart below, you see under each tree's diameter, how many units that represents. We're adopting a standard of saying we would credit units according to the diameter of the trees using the following, this is a standard worksheet that the tree commission has looked at. It's also been used in the past by, we've had developers use it in the past and builders. But it was, recently we had someone question where it wasn't in the code, it wasn't in the code, so, the review committee is recommending that be added.
Make a motion that we amend the code section 2-105.4 to reflect the recommendation from the code review committee.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, if we can look at 16.103.3 site development plan. Basically, what we are doing here is, we are requiring, the bottom line here is that we're requiring all site plans there. The section, or subsection 16.103.5 of the zoning code does specify what requires a site plan. But basically, we're saying there are no exemptions to that. Now, the site plan is not required for a single-family house or a duplex or that type of thing at all. But we're saying that there's not going to be an exemption for what's we've established in that section what's required for a site plan to be submitted. We're removing any exemptions from that so that all of the because if we had all site plans, if you look on the second page, it said all site plans can be subject to approval by the planning commission. And that's what we would be requiring.
Frank, if I
What
can.
this allows us to do, like for some instance, if someone's making an addition to their building, a commercial building of 2,000 square feet, they could be exempt from providing a site plan. Well, they can make 2 or 3 additions and have an awful lot done on that property without any site plan approval.
Is this just for commercial?
This is for commercial, yes.
And what it does, it just takes that part out of it, and it helps protect, to me, my opinion, when I was on the board, it helps protect 96-100 from any oddities being able to put in there under 2,000 square feet. And everything has to come before this board, rather than have an exemption.
Well, the only question I have is, I thought this was one of the ones we put off for more review? Was this, it was the architect, the build-outs?
Yeah, it was the-
Yeah, it was the build-out, okay, just checking.
Move to approve.
Second.
This is storage.
Okay, we have a first and a second on this one. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, the next one, we can look at would be, 3.108, issue of building permits and occupancy. Under paragraph 2 of that section, the present wording says, no building permit shall be issued for about 10% of the lots in a subdivision, or 10% if it's less than 2. In other words, this is saying that this section requires the developer to complete all the improvements before the final 10% of the lots can be built on. Well, we have that covered with bonds. So we require a bond to cover all public improvements. So this could be deleted, so it wouldn't be in the code or be confusing because, and it brings up a lot of other questions like, we have builders that buy lots and wait till the end to build on the lot. We have people, we don't want to, just make a distinction between people who get a permit at the time they get a permit. But the main thing is, the requirement to make the improvements is covered by the bond that they have to post. So the committee recommended that be deleted.
Move to approve code section 3-108.
Second.
The first and a second, any discussion? All in-
Madam Chairman, just for clarification, all of this right here was for housekeeping, basically for clarity within the policies that we have, make it a lot simpler.
That particular one also, I recommended to the committee that it be withdrawn because it involves limiting people who has no privity of contract with the development. If the developer was also the builder, then you would be okay to do this. I don't see any need to because you're going to either have a letter of credit or a bond. But if the person that buys the lots are not the person who is developing it, he has no responsibility to build the roads, and he could end up with an illegal interference with his business for no reason.
Any more discussion?
Frank, do you have any questions about that? Well, I don't think we discussed it in the committee, did we?
What?
What? You're suggesting we withdraw it, am I right or wrong?
No, you say,
No, he was saying that we do
We
remove
should
that.
take
Yeah.
away that
in
paragraph.
agreement.
Okay,
Yeah.
The rest of it
that was the whole
remains the same.
purpose of it, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
okay, the next one was code section 1-101.2, development subject to the design review. This is really, this should have been, I should have discussed this in the previous meeting about site plan review, what it does is changes that, number one, it makes reference to the exemptions that we just talked about removing, and it adds proposed wording. I think that should be for number one also, but anyway, it's all development requires site plan approval by the planning commission as per the zoning ordinance. So basically what we're doing is this is another section that needs to be amended in order to remove that exemption.
Move to amend code section 1-101.2.
Second.
The first and a second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Then the next one, the last one that we had sent on to the planning commission was, actually a building code, well, it's a zoning code, section 16, dash 102.5. In the zoning ordinance, basically there is wording, what we are doing, we're changing changing the zoning code and recommending a change to the building code, so that if you look on that third page there, you see that there's an exemption for buildings. That's one-story detached accessory structure. What we're doing is removing that. We're removing that exemption from commercial buildings. So we would require all commercial buildings to obtain a building permit and amend the code to remove the exception for commercial buildings, not for residential. We still wouldn't require, you know, like someone puts a storage building in their backyard, really when they come in for a permit on that, they get a zoning permit because we're not requiring that to be built to code. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about strictly commercial buildings. All have to have permits. There will not be an exemption because of the size.
Already got a motion, I think, first.
Did we have a motion on that one?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
Not yet.
I'm sorry, I thought we had.
I'll make a motion to amend Article 16, Section 16-102.5.
Second.
Did you?
Well, I'm going to discuss when.
Okay, I just heard. Okay, we have a first and a second. Any more discussion?
Will, does that fix everything as far as the two sections and combined where it's not, you know, conflicting? There was some mention in the meeting.
Yes, I believe it does.
Okay.
What we'll have to do with that is we can't actually revise the 209 standard building code, but what we can do is, instead of opting out, is we will put that in the ordinance that says that section and quote that section will not
Okay.
be enforced.
Okay.
And if I could, well, go ahead and get your vote, and I'd like 30 seconds when you get finished to just summarize something for you.
Is it going to change my vote?
No.
Okay.
It's strictly information.
Okay.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Cantrell?
What I wanted to give you, just so you know where we're going with this, some of this, and I'll prepare the documents that come to this board will come to this board. The documents that you recommend that has to go to the Board of Commissioners will go to the Board of Commissioners. But just to let you know what's going on, 2105.4, that's the design review manual. That will not go to the Board of Commissioners. That's your approval when I present that, and it will be added to the design review manual. What I also would suggest in looking at the design review manual is we need to put on the bottom of it on the last page, it won't change anything other than the date that it was revised, and have the chairman of the planning commission and the secretary of the planning commission sign it, and the secretary to verify it, and it'll have a date when it was revised, and that way we can know where we're going. 16-1033 is a zoning ordinance that will have to go forward to the Board of Commissioners to authorize me to prepare the documents, and then it'll have 2 readings on it. We will also have it sent back here to have the Planning Commission sign off if they did recommend it. 13108, issuance of building permits, is a subdivision regulation that is strictly the Planning Commission's ballpark, and it will not go to the Board of Commissioners. 1-101.2 is development subject to design review, is in the design review manual. Try to say that together. In the design review manual, and it will not go to the board. The last one on the conflict with the submission of commercial to this board, that is a zoning code change, and it will have to go to the board. I just wanted to give you that information.
Thank you.
We'll have a pop quiz before the next planning commission. Thank you.
8.6, discuss the yard source, Jamie and Angel Stewart owners. Thank you for coming tonight.
Situation. My name is Jamie, this is Angel Stewart, and we're opening up the yard source. We're on the corner of 7100 and Sleepy Hollow there. 7100 Sleepy Hollow Road and 100, right across from the rec center. It's going to be a stone and mulch yard. We're also going to sell mulch, masonry supplies. And the building is going to be all brick and stone. I know there was some questions there. We are going to be ADA accessible.
I have a brief question before it does come up. How are you going to bring product in?
It's going to come on big trucks.
I know, but how's it going to get this gig? There's no entrance off of 100, is there?
Our entrance is on Sleepy Hollow.
Are you going to be able to get a big truck in there?
I am going to have to widen that, and it may come up that I may need to access back on the road just behind us there, just so trucks can come in and go
Okay, because I
straight
know
up.
it's going to be quick, because I know you have big trucks coming in there, and there's just not space for it right now. I think there's a church across the street over there, and that's a very narrow road right there. That was just a concern and a question that you may have to address.
I mean, we would love to have an entrance on 100, but like someone else had mentioned, TDOT.
I don't think the grade will handle it. We've looked at it, so that's all I've got.
I was wondering, what kind of equipment or vehicles are you planning to keep on site overnight? Obviously, you'll have some type of front-end loader, I would suppose, and then...
We're looking at a Bobcat type equipment, and we will have like a Moffett type. We will have a dump truck and a trailer.
Okay. Is there any current plans to try to provide any lands or privacy landscaping or anything around that equipment, or?
We are going to request I don't know how you would want to word it, a shed, storage of some sort. This basically the same thing that Co-op just built on the side of their building. Okay. And we plan on, since we got 3 road frontages there,
Yes.
we plan on trying to tie it to as close as to the office as we can get it, to try to make it almost look as one instead of having a shed out in the middle of nowhere.
I have some concerns, because this wasn't something that actually came in front of us. And one of the things is, it is next to residential, a church. I worry about the mulch, the piles of mulch. What's going to keep, are y'all going to put fencing up? Or what's going to keep kids from going over and trespassing and, the mulch and climbing?
I mean, we could put fencing up if that's what you're requesting, but if a kid's gonna come over there and, they're gonna jump the fence and, we can put a fence up, but I don't know if you want us to put one up that's gonna keep kids out.
Well, I'm just asking a question. You could easily put a fence just around the mulch area, not necessarily.
Well, the mulch is in your concrete
Yeah, but it's
bins.
not, are you closing it? So, because you can, it's in the concrete, but they're open to the front. So, somebody can easily get over there and climb on it. So I'm just, curious, is there a way y'all can make it a safer, and I'm not necessarily, I'm sure a fence around would be an eyesore around the whole property, but if y'all could put some kind of gates or something to block, it doesn't mean they can't get to it, but for safety issues, I have a concern.
What kind of safety concern are you having with the mulch?
Well, I think people could go over there and climb on it. I know we'd like to teach our kids never to go on other people's property, but it happens all the time. I see them in front of my teenagers, in front of my subdivision on the brick walls. It doesn't mean, they're not going to do it. So I was just, and most mulch companies have some kind of, fencing. So my just question is, what was y'all's plans?
We haven't gotten one yet about that.
We've been to quite a few of the mulch places around here, just viewing how they run business and how they do it. And I can't recall any of them having anything to block that off.
Okay.
We've got 7 bins across the back. I can't see putting 7 different there's no way to swing it out and get the trucks in and out without it being a problem.
Okay. Well, there is, even though it's not being built yet, but there's townhouses project just down the road from you. There's a church right across that has children playing. There's soccer fields across the road. So, I mean, I don't know what I'm recommending, but I would suggest, I would feel better about the project if there was some way to make sure that it just wasn't out in the open.
See, the only problem with fencing is on the Westview side, we have beautiful, huge oak trees. And to put fencing up, we're gonna have to get rid of those. And that, I mean, that's the only thing I can,
Well,
And also, I want to remind, this is just for
I know, but I'm
discussion. This is
discussing.
not requesting that they do anything. This is just for discussion, and we invited them here to just make the public aware of, you know, what's going on their property.
well, I'm just discussing, you know, that I think there might be a safety issue, and I was just wondering what y'all had in plan. I don't know that, as I stated earlier, what I'm suggesting, but just to bring to your attention, there is a potential issue. And, you know, as a board, since if we have no authority on what's going to transpire on this property, I would just like to make a recommendation that you consider.
no, we were thinking about doing the screens. I'm sure you've seen this on other mulch, just on top, but there's nothing to stop the front. I mean, so somebody could still crawl
Okay,
under
okay.
there, but
So they-
it would be like
Okay.
just a top cover.
Yeah.
Just a real quick question, and I'm just curious about, because I've seen it happen many times out here. It was on TV the other night. Are you gonna have, and this is a stupid question, I know that coming out, but is there any fire retardation system? Because I know these things catch on fire sometimes. Mulch.
We're gonna have water running to the property, but nothing back there. We're gonna have, after we get the water ran, we're gonna have a spigot somewhere close to that area, but I'm
I
not
mean,
too.
it's just a thought
Right.
process too, that, because it's close it is to residential businesses and the church over there. I haven't seen them, but I know of them catching on fire several times. That's just a concern. I'm sure y'all have it as well as we do. So I don't know if they've come out with something that keep it from happening or not.
You had mentioned about a potential, like, parking shed or, I guess, lean-to for your equipment. Are you planning, when are you planning construction on that, or where are you with that?
After talking to Frank, I think I still have to get approval for that.
Okay,
We have to
Our original site plan,
okay,
our original site plan had us keeping the old garage that was on the site. And after John Bledsoe went out and looked at it, it was something we needed to take down. So on our original site plan, it did show us having a shed there, which was the old garage. If anybody's familiar with that property, it was an old white.
Right.
We were gonna try to save that, put a new facade and stuff on it, but we ended up tearing it down. So we now, I guess, have to go back to the drawing board and resubmit and whatever. But we're, just so you guys know, we're gonna try to keep it as close to the office as we can, just so it looks part of it instead of having something just stuck out there in the back.
and I notice you have an outdoor fireplace in the front of the building. Is that something that you're gonna come in front of us with, or is that?
We're selling those, so it's just
Fixed
kind of
or-
like a design.
That is gonna be just for
Product.
selling purposes. We're gonna do the outdoor fireplaces, the fire pits and stuff like that.
Okay, so that outdoor fireplace in the front of that building, that's gonna be staying there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the only other question I had was, so the delivery trucks are coming into, on Westview Drive. You would go down
Sleepy Hollow.
You would go Sleepy Hollow, and, so, and what were you, can you repeat what the answer was to the big trucks on the roads, and being able to get in and out of your,
As of right now, they will come in from Sleepy Hollow. I'm talking to a few of the companies that's gonna be delivering to us. They think they can get in there and turn around on our property and come back out the same way. If we run into an issue where the drivers are refusing to try to make that turn, we may be requesting a Westview exit. But if they exit on that side, they will not be carrying the weight. They'll be carrying the weight from Sleepy Hollow. Because I think there is a weight limit on that, on Westwood.
There is.
I have one concern, I mentioned this to you back in the summer. Those bins, you're gonna put mulch and stone and various materials in those and remove those from those bins with a Bobcat or some type of front-end loader. My only concern is those block walls. I'm not sure how long they're gonna stay there, not being core fill.
Well, we did core fill every fourth one with rebar and concrete, and that was a concern of mine too. But, you know, we were on a tight budget going in. We had intended on pouring those walls solid. Budget didn't account for that in the beginning. If there is an issue, then we would have to go back and just knock the top off.
You have
and
addressed
core-
part of it then, so that's good.
Anything else? Thank you. I really appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Number 9, reports for discussion and/or information. 9.1, Director of Planning and Codes, Frank Humber.
Just a brief report tonight. First, just to sort of bring the commission up to date on our single-family homes or our single-family building permits. We had, in 2013, we issued 19 single-family homes. In 2014, we issued 39, or basically double. 15, we've started very strong, and we now have either issued or in the process of being approved. 13 have already for single-family houses, so we feel like we're on pace to probably get above the 2014 level, possibly up to between 40 and 60 single-family residential buildings. It's increasing, it's growing, so I just wanted to bring you up at the pace we're at now, we're already going to be adding a lot of. Also, there will be probably at either the next meeting or following meeting, we'll probably have a new site plan for y'all to look at for a new fast food restaurant. We've got some people, looking. We've gotten a lot of inquiries. We've got a lot of people that are really anxious to move projects forward now in Fairview. So very encouraging. We feel like even, and as we've said before in the past, this year we hope it's going to be very busy.
If I can ask you a question, I talked to Sharon earlier before the meeting, and that 13 was something that we had like last week. How many did we do today? 7 last week or this week? Last week. Okay, so that's part of the 13. Okay. I was getting all excited. I thought we was going to have 20. So.
I have a question. Are you done? Okay, I know we have a lot of, or a few citizens in the audience about the Western Hills subdivision, and I spoke to them prior to the meeting.
Western Woods.
Western Woods, sorry. Prior to the meeting, and obviously we extended the bond, so, that's good. But I did address with Mr. Hall, we were talking earlier about the drainage issue. And Mr. Hall, did you have a chance to have somebody, I don't know if I should address this with Mr. Hall or Frank, if you.
We're taking care of cleaning out the culvert itself, but it has, the maintenance part of the cutting of the detention pond itself is the developer's responsibility. We're also going to be looking at the other side of Wiley Circle to see if, from what I understand from Todd, that detention pond is lower than the other side of the property. We're probably gonna have to get permission to go over there from the property owner in order to lower that over there. But I haven't had time to go over it myself, but Todd has, addressed that issue yesterday by phone with me.
Okay.
So
And-
it is something we're looking into further.
Okay. Thank you for going over there. So the drainage though, is there anything we can do now as far as, I know it's the developer's responsibility, but was it working properly?
The culvert, we're gonna clean out.
You're gonna clean out the
Yes.
city? Okay. Okay, just wanted to address that since I knew there was some people.
That's all I have.
Okay. Nine point two, city engineer, Malone.
I don't have anything further.
Thank you. 9.3, city attorney, Larry Cantor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. 9.4, city manager, Wayne Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just want to thank y'all for a good meeting tonight. I really enjoyed the discussion that y'all had, and I really want to thank you for that. As far as these codes committee, I want to, that will continue until we get everything that we can find in there that's wrong. The next meeting is February 26th at 7 p.m. If anybody that's on the planning commission that's not part of that committee, you're welcome to come, and your input will be very much appreciated. But that is finally we're going forward with that, and there's still, I think, 3 more just that you presented the other night that we didn't get to. A final decision on one of them required a lot of discussion, and we didn't get through with that discussion at the time that we had allotted. So,
What was the upcoming date and time? I'm sorry.
February the 26th at 7 p.m. And this is very important that we get these codes changed because it is our future. When these developments come to us now, we feel that we'll have everything in the proper perspective. Thank you.
Number 10, communication from the planning commission members. Mr. Dowdy. Mr. Loman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for the update, Mr. Humber, Mr. Hall. Good to hear we've got another fast food place coming in. Maybe we'll get a slow food place before long, too. That's all I've got, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Mayor Carroll.
Thank you. I just have a few things. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. It always matters, especially when we're voting on items that affect your life. I enjoyed a lot of you discussing with me while you're here. It's important when we come and make decisions that we kind of know the people that we are affecting. And now that I'm getting in the hang of things, and some of y'all haven't got to work with me, I do ask a lot of questions. I will ask them a lot of times because I went out in the audience and people asked me a question, and I bring it up here and ask it for the board. It is a practice that I try to do because I feel like the decisions we make in this board, this is one of the most important boards we have, and I value your service. But I think the questions here affect our lives, and it will impact our future. So I will never apologize for asking questions, and I will ask questions. Now, some of them may be redundant, but it's to make sure I understand. Even if you just said it, I may ask you to repeat it because it's a good way to make sure we know what we're voting for. And I encourage when we do the motions that we restate exactly what we want, because we've been going through a lot lately where we had to go back and look at the minutes and they were crucial. Because we all think, oh, we're going to be here, the same people will be here, you know, in 4 or 8 years. But what we find is 15 years pass, the people aren't here, and all we have is the minutes to go by. So I encourage us as a board that be, you know, a practice, because we're leaving a legacy for our city. And so we want to, you know, give all the information that we can, and especially since we've taken the time to hash it out. So we want to make sure it's documented correctly. So thank you for coming tonight, and I appreciate it.
Mr. Mangrum?
I would just like to thank our staff for keeping us updated and keeping us prepared for these meetings. That's all.
Just on the codes committee, I appreciate that, because we've eliminated a lot of possible problems, and we're really moving forward with it now. It took a long time to get it started, but there's some great progress being made in it, and it's going to continue to be that way. And there's several people on the committee that I'd like to thank also. Off that subject, I want to congratulate the Fairview boys wrestling team. I was at Eagleville this past Saturday night, and we have 5 young men going to the state finals this coming week, which I think is it's a big number for us. Going to be at the Ag Center. I think it starts Friday, about 10 o'clock, and if I'm mistaken, somebody let me know. So congratulations to all of them. I can't help but also say my grandson doesn't go to school here. He goes to another city, but he was in that tournament. And I want to congratulate him for being first in the region, making state qualifications and best match. I'm real proud of him, too. The last thing is have some thoughts and prayers for the young man that died the other night that was on the wrestling team for Blackburn. Him and his family, 16 years old. He had made state also for the next day. So just have some places in your heart for him and his family. Thank you.
Mr. Butler?
Nothing, Knighton.
Mr. Beata?
I have nothing to add, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work. I know we were going through a lot right now, and I think it's real important to update our codes and make them, you know, easier to read. And when people come in and want to build here, they, you know, have a clear view of what needs to happen. Also, the board, we're working really hard together to make, you know, some good progress in our city and make sure it's handled properly. I wanted to let everybody know that the Fairview Chamber of Commerce is having an event on February 24th. It's a Tuesday night, and it's a progressive dinner, if you will. And we're going to highlight a lot of new businesses in the public shopping center area. So you can go on the Fairview Chamber of Commerce website if you'd like to attend this and accept the invitation there. And it's going to be a really nice night of just being able to go and view and mingle with different people and businesses in our community. So I'd like to invite everybody to, you know, come to that if they can. Always keep your money here in Fairview, shop here. Before you leave our community, just make sure that, you know, if you're going to buy something, to buy it here and make, you know, that just helps everyone in our community.